I have booked meetings with billion-dollar funds just through cold email.
You've been a big help in this outreach effort. And we found people like, Chelsea Clinton that we never would have otherwise.
Now, the clip I showed you was one of our clients, and they booked a meeting with Chelsea Clinton. So if you're raising funds and you want to book meetings with angel investors, family offices, strategic investors, VCs, corporate arms, all that good stuff, I'm going to show you exactly how I did it. I'm not saying you can do the exact same or get the exact same results I did, but I'm just going to tell you how I did it so you can replicate the same strategy. Now, the clip I showed you was one of our clients, and they booked a meeting with Chelsea Clinton. The Chelsea Clinton you're probably thinking about. And the way we were able to get to her, who's been incredibly helpful for our client, is as you know, with a lot of these investors, they are associated with multiple companies. They're board members in multiple companies. They own multiple companies. They operate multiple foundations, funds, all that good stuff. So the most important thing is, how do you get seen by them, right? How do they even read your reach out, whether that's through email, LinkedIn, whatever the case may be? And how we did it with her was we contacted her through her Metro Dora VC, which is a more niche VC that she operated. It wasn't even in her LinkedIn experience, so it was quite niche. It was something to do with women's health, so there was some healthcare overlap with our client. So we reached out to her through that, and she actually saw what we initially reached out for it. So that's the most important element, right? So when you're sourcing investors, there is the traditional route you can go, going to PitchBook, Crunchbase, LinkedIn Sales Navigator. They are also amazing sources, right? That gives you the volume. You want to reach out to a lot of these investors, not just one. And if you want to go for a more targeted approach, a really good one is conferences. We targeted JPM, which is the healthcare conference. That campaign got a 7.8% reply rate. All of those replies were pretty much positive. They were asking for decks, asking to book meetings, and just asking more, at least, questions about the company. So we were actually able to start a lot of conversations there. So conferences are amazing because people don't really know if you're going. There's a natural acceptance that networking is going to come out of conferences. So when you reach out about the conference, they're already prone to being open to being reached out to and all that good stuff. So conferences are amazing when you're sourcing leads. If you're going for more of a strategic investor route, if you want to utilize their distribution, they can invest in your company and then they can distribute and then get crazy returns. All that good stuff, all that strategies, you're gonna have to find more custom sources, obviously, right? Strategic investor means depending on what you want. So I can give you a broad, I can give you a specific here, but conferences does really well. PitchBook, Crunchbase, Sales Navigator, all that good stuff. So now that you have investors to actually reach out to, how you want to approach writing to the investor, I'm looking at it here, is in terms of the copy that we did, we had a bit of an icebreaker, and this is not like with icebreakers, and when you're talking to investors, please do not just mention the obvious. Just say, hey, I read about XYZ you did, or the investment you did on XYZ. A lot of these investors are also somewhat known in their circle, so you can almost act like a fan. So you can say things, you don't have to be too specific about things, right? You can just say, hey, I'm a big fan of what you do. And that will not work for a lot of other people because they're not famous, right? But if you're reaching out to someone who are famous or well-known, if you say, I love your work. So we did that. And then the second paragraph is you want to elaborate a little bit about the company. So what we did is to say, hey, I work with XYZ, we're this type of company, and explain a little bit more about the raise. We're raising $6 million for our Series A or whatever, seeding round, whatever the case may be. And the third paragraph, which is the most important, is a thesis fit. Well, a lot of investors, they're just looking for if you have a thesis fit. If what they have invested in the past is relevant to what you're doing. Because a lot of investors you're not going to see an investor that invests in tech and then complete crypto. That's just not common unless they're like a billionaire, right? Even a lot of VCs and family offices, they often have a thesis that they stick around. So if they're investing in healthcare, they invest just in healthcare. So that's a roll-up play. So when you're doing that, you want to show a clear understanding that there is a thesis fit. So you can use AI to do this. Hey, you invest in healthcare, you've invested in this company, we're very similar to this company, especially at the stage you invested in. So you might want to have a look at this. And then you want to just ask them, not necessarily permission, but just ask them, hey, what would you like to see? I would love you to send you a deck. I just want to know, what would you like to see? That's it. Leave it at that. Always with the CTAs, you can ask for a meeting. If you're reaching to a VC, you can go straight into asking for a meeting because that's the whole job of a VC. Their job is to invest, so that's fine. But if you're going for family offices or individuals or high net worth individuals, just ask to see if you can send them over a deck, and then you can actually further the engagement on there. So that was what we did. That worked really well, and we're still doing investor campaigns to this day with our clients. So that is the route that I would recommend you try out if you are trying to raise funds for your own company, for your own startup, whatever you need. Seeding, pre-seeding, those are real. If you're raising those kind of money, they're very easy just because there's a lot of unicorn potential and people want to invest early on. If you're raising Series B, C, D onwards, that's more late stage play. So you're gonna naturally see diminishing returns, right? You might have 100 investors interested in pre-seed, seed, Series A, but you might have 20 invested in late stage because they're obviously late. Keep that in mind. So if your early stage is even better, that is a big advantage to you. A lot of investors want one in early stage, and hopefully that helps.